car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
That's exactly what it is, low overhead country. This is the Frontier Motor Show here on Talk at 10 on News Talk 1370 WCOA Radio, right here in Pensacola, Florida. You're cordially invited to give us a phone call if you would like to ask the owner of that fine establishment, Frontier Motors, not WCOA, Iven Streckel, a question. Maybe you'd like to get the price of a car or a truck or an SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. Now is the time. He is here. He'll answer your question. 478-3116. Good morning, sir.
Thanks, Don, for the introduction. We will be talking cars for the next half hour, and this is 1370 Talk Radio. We're also videotaping this for our Blab TV subscribers, so if you're watching this on TV, it's probably not a live show, even though Don and I are still alive.
We are.
Barely. But you can call in, like Don said, 478-3116, and we can give you the value of the car. The formats always are a little bit different than you get on the internet. If you Google the internet and you look for used car values, you're going to see an NEDA value. You're going to see an Edmunds, and you're also going to see a consumer's version of the NEDA. This is the book that we use right here. This is an official car guide. And the reason we use this particular book is because that's what our banks and credit unions, and most importantly, also our insurance companies use in our area. If a car gets totaled, this is the book they use as far as replacement values. Now, we also use a black wholesale guidebook, and the wholesale guidebook is what we can buy a car for at the auction. This, to me, is a more important book than the NEDA because a lot of times there is going to be a big difference between the black wholesale guidebook and the retail. And the question is how much of a difference is there? An example would be if the NEDA book says a particular Lexus is worth $25,000 retail, but they're going through the auction for around $20,000, then the NEDA guidebook would be too high because I could buy that car for $20,000, bring it back to the dealership, mark it up $2,000 or $3,000, so you'd be at $22,000 or $23,000, even though the book said it was worth $25,000. And that's why you always want to check with Frontier Motors before you sign the dotted line at whatever dealership you're doing business with. It could be a private individual, for example. It could be on Craigslist or eBay or Cars.com, Auto Trader. There's a lot of different formats where you can find cars, especially important if it's a private individual. You don't want to take their word for it. You want to call Frontier Motors. You don't even have to tell us what they're asking for the car. Just run the car by me, and what I do is I pull up, the first thing I'll do is I'll pull up the NEDA value, which I have on my screen right here, and it asks me some questions. Obviously, the first thing it's going to ask me is the year. The second thing, I'm going to run through this, and we'll use a Lexus as an example. The second thing it's going to ask me is the make, which is Lexus, and let's just say we're looking at an RX 350, and let's just say it's a front-wheel drive RX 350, not a four-wheel drive, and let's just say it's got 31,000 miles on it. So this is the things we're going to need to know to give you a value on the car. The other thing it's going to ask for some equipment. For example, on this particular car, they deduct if it has cloth interior instead of leather. They deduct if it doesn't have navigation, if it doesn't have a sunroof. But they do add if it's got a DVD system, the flip-down DVDs where the kids can watch TV. It does add $350 if it's got a towing package. And it also adds $50 for a luggage rack. And then it's got a fancy stereo system called an 11-cent stereo system, which adds $500. Let's assume it doesn't have any of these features. I would tell you this has a wholesale value of $27,000 and a retail value of $33,200. So there's quite a gap there. That's almost a $5,000, actually $5,100 gap between wholesale and retail. Now that's a pretty big gap. So the next thing I do is I go into the auction reports and I find out, well, what are these cars bringing at the auction? Are they bringing more than the wholesale value or less than the wholesale value? Because that's what's going to determine on what I'm going to tell you to pay for this particular car. So if you're going over to the Lexus dealership and they're pricing this car at $33,200, which is retail, the question is that a good deal or is that a bad deal? So I get into the reports and I find out that this car should be able to be bought for about $1,500 under retail on the average. If there's something wrong with it, of course, you deduct. For example, if it's got 31,000 miles on the car and it has original tires, which usually you can get around 40,000 miles out of a set of tires on the average, sometimes more, sometimes less, you might want to deduct for the fact that you might have to put tires on this car in a short period of time if you don't have to put tires on it already. So these are things that we look at when we help you to make sure that you don't get ripped off when you're in the car market. The other thing we can help you with also, and I brought this with us, it's the New Car Cost Guide, and this is an invoice book. Consumers Reports, on the back page of every Consumers Reports, and I get every single one, they have a subscription where you can buy an invoice for about $15 per invoice. Now, the reason they sell invoices is because they want you to know if you're going to be buying a brand new car, what does the dealer pay for that particular car, because they feel that will help you make an offer. Well, Frontier Motors, these invoices are no charge. So that's one of the services that we provide at Frontier Motors. The other service that we provide, which I think is very important if you're buying a used car, is we will do a Carfax and an auto check report, which are the two largest providers of history reports in the nation. We will run these reports for you at no charge. A Carfax, the last time I checked, was about $43, including taxes. No charge at Frontier Motors. We can either email it to you, or we can scan it, or you can just stop in a 230 Beverly Parkway and pick it up, or you can just call and we'll tell you if it's what we consider a good Carfax or a bad Carfax. Now, just so you know, if the car has been in an accident, it doesn't make it a bad Carfax. A bad Carfax would be something like a salvage title, perhaps a lemon law buyback, an odometer problem, a flood damaged vehicle. That's what we consider a bad Carfax. The Carfax reports give us a lot of information about the vehicle. When the first owner purchased the vehicle, which lets me know what the warranty is left on the vehicle. So if the owner bought it 12 months ago and it's got a 36-month warranty, well, obviously we know you have 2 years left on the warranty depending on the miles. Most cars, like a Chevrolet, for example, or a Honda or Toyota, have a 3-year, 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. So if we know the car is 1 year old with 12,000 miles on it, you've got about a third of the warranties gone on that car, and the Carfax will tell us that. It'll also tell us in most instances, if you took it back to the dealer, how many times you had it in for your oil changes and for your normal maintenance, because the dealer will keep track of that and they report to Carfax. Now, some of the smaller lube places are also starting to do that, but not every single one. But it'll give you an idea of maintenance. You know how Grandpa used to keep a book and a log and would write it all down when you did the oil change and how how much miles per gallon he got. I don't know. My dad did that too. I never knew if it ever helped him or not. I don't know if he was thinking that if it got bad gas mileage, you would get a different car, but he kept track of every gas mileage. Now, Don, did you used to do that when you were young?
I do to this day.
Why?
I used to itemize my income taxes for business purposes, but
okay.
I hadn't
That's
have
a good reason
to do that anymore.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, but and I kept everything down, all the mileage, every gas fill up, exactly as my father used to do.
Well, because people don't do that anymore, the Carfax is very, very helpful because now that keeps track of it. I know Bobby Likas advertises that he'd have what they call a maintenance glove box. So when you go to Bobby Likas for an oil change, he puts it right on the internet. They give you a little login, and you can log in and find out everything that he's done to the car since you've brought it in, which is really cool. And the Carfax is starting to do that. And that's why I always urge people, I don't buy any cars, no matter where I buy them, without running a Carfax and an auto check. And I always run them both because a lot of times it's like getting a second opinion. One might say something different than the other. I had one the other day where it said accident reported on Carfax. So it didn't really give me an idea if it was minor or if it was moderate or if it was major. Well, I ran the auto check on it and it said major damage reported. Now, you'd want to know about that. That doesn't mean you shouldn't buy the car, but you definitely want to know if the car that you're looking at has been in a major accident, because if it has, we do something what we call is diminished value. We give people letters of diminished value if they get in an accident by letting them know what their car is worth now because it's been an accident. And obviously the letter of diminished value that we give you, the dollar amount, is different if it's a minor accident, moderate, or a major accident. There's been letters that we have written out for customers as much as $5,000 and $6,000 of diminished value when you got into a major accident, because if we were to take that car in trade, we're going to disclose that information to the next owner. And let's just assume that it was fixed properly and used with the parts that let's say it's a Toyota, they use all brand new Toyota parts. That car normally should be worth more because it might be a used car with brand new parts, but that's not how people look at it. That car's worth less because of the perception that perhaps it hasn't been fixed properly, which means that the only way you'll buy that car is if you get a bargain on it. We put the Carfax and the auto check in every single car. I just checked this morning before I sat down to do the radio show here /TV show that we have 349 cars in inventory. Our salespeople every morning unlock every single car. And by the way, they do lock them at the night. So don't be coming helping yourself to our free owner's manuals when you're thinking that our glove boxes or doors are unlocked. They're not. But we unlock every single car every morning for two reasons. Number one, so you can check out the Carfax and the auto check. It's in the glove box. But number two, so you can slip behind the wheel to see how the car fits. There's a couple of things that people look at first when they determine what the car they want. The first thing is obviously the looks of the car. Do they like the way it looks, which obviously also has to do with color. The second thing is, how does it feel? When you slip behind the wheel, can you adjust the steering wheel? Can you adjust the seat where you're comfortable? If you're very short, can you get the seat close enough so you can hit the gas pedal and the brake pedal? Can you sit high enough to where you have good visibility? How is the blind spot in the back of the vehicle? Does it have the blind spot monitoring in case the blind spots are bad? And this you have to do. And when you go to a new car dealership, you're going to find that all the cars are locked. And a lot of times they leave them locked on purpose. So the salesman has to run back and forth getting the keys for every single car because it makes you feel obligated because he's working so darn hard that maybe you should be buying a car from that particular dealership. We don't make you feel obligated. We want you to buy a car when you want to buy it. Obviously, we come to work every morning to sell cars. That's what we do. But we want to make this an easy experience for our customers when they come in. We don't ask stupid questions like, well, what do I have to do to sell your car today? What do you want your payments to be? What do you want for your car?
What's it going to take to put you in this car?
That's another one of those stupid questions, Don. And I did actually, this is kind of funny because I had this happen last week, Don, where a customer came in and he's looking at, which car was it? It was an expensive car. I think it was our Jaguar X-Type. XE, which is a very expensive car. It's about a $50,000 car. And we gave him the price on the car, and he accepted the price. And we had another customer that wanted to buy it at the same time. And he was actually waiting to see if this customer was going to take well, he waited for about 25 minutes. Our customer was still in our finance department doing a credit application. And he had good credit, so it wasn't a problem with the credit. But we didn't ask him the question. Because I say, this is a stupid question. What do you want your payments to be?
Right.
His payments on that car were about $700. He wanted his payments to be $300.
I'm with him.
So maybe we should have asked him, what do you want your payments to be? Obviously, my answer would always be, I don't want any payments. So, I want you to get the car for nothing. I want $100 payments. That's why I think that's a stupid question. But in this particular case, the customer had no clue that a $50,000 car would run him with a little bit of money down. I think he was paying the taxes and that's it. So he was putting down $5,000, but the taxes and fees were almost $5,000. So technically, he was financing 100% of the car. And the payments were $700, and he wanted to be like in the $300 or $400 range.
Yes, finance it for 12 years. That's the only problem.
Yeah, which we don't do. I mean, 72 months is a stretch.
Yeah.
New cars these days, by the way, when we were talking about financing, new cars are up to 96-month financing now because they're so darn expensive. There's only two ways you can buy a new car these days, unless you win the lottery or you have a really, really good job. Number one is to put a bunch of money down. I'm talking about, some of these cars are, an average truck, for example, is $50,000. You could put $20,000 down in cash and your payments are still going to be almost $500 a month. So how are you able to afford that brand new truck? Even if you've been lucky enough to save $20,000, which I'll tell you, Don, from experience, we don't get a lot of people coming in that have $20,000 in their back pocket. Most people could put down $1,000, maybe $2,000, maybe $3,000, and they're going to finance the rest. Well, one way to finance it, stretch it out. They came up with 72 and 84, now 96-month financing. But the newest way, of course, 31% last year, lease a car. Basically what they're doing is they're renting a car. And I don't try to talk you out of leasing. I just want you to know what you're getting into when you're leasing a car and some of the cons. The big pro of leasing is you can afford a more expensive car for a lower payment. So like, let's say this vehicle that I was talking about, if we do used car leasing, which we don't, if the vehicle was $700 a month, if you lease that car brand new, it'd probably be about $450. So it might be attainable for you because it's $150 or $200 a month less. The biggest issue that you have is you don't have any equity. You never build equity. So if you go into a 4-year lease, at the end of 4 years, you hand in your keys, you have nothing. If you finance a car for 72 months, normally halfway through that loan, you're in positive equity position, which means you're actually having you're having a car that you're paying down to that has lost its major value in the first 3 years of its life. After that, it stops sliding. As a matter of fact, I've got a percentage here from Consumers Reports. They say the first year depreciation is 27%. The second year, it's 37%. So it only goes another 10% the second year. In the third year, it drops to 46%. So that second to third year is a 9% depreciation. And then the fourth year, it goes down another 10% to 56%. And that gives me a whole different subject.
Speaking of a whole different subject, if you would like to ask a question on any subject related to cars, give us a call, 478-3116, 478-3116. Iven Streckel is here, and he, as you well know, is more than ready, willing, and certainly able to answer any questions. You want to get the price of a car, or truck, or an SUV you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in, give us a call, 478-3116. This is the Frontier Motor Show here on News Talk 1370 WCOA Pensacola. Ivan?
Thanks, Don. And getting back to depreciation, last year, Consumer Reports finally put in writing what we've been talking about, where they actually told us the percentage of depreciation. The first year depreciation on a $35,000 car, which is the average car last year of a brand new car, average price, not the average list price, but the average transaction price. So let's say I had a $3,000 rebate. The average price might have been $40,000 on the car, but the dealer knocked up a couple thousand, gave you a $3,000 rebate. Now your transaction price is $35,000. They said the first year, if you were to trade that car 1 year later, you lose $9,200. If you kept the car for 2 years and you didn't like it anymore, you lose $12,600. If it's a 3 year, you would lose $15,000. 4 years is 56%. Folks, depreciation is how we make a living at Frontier Motors. We buy these cars, a lot of them we buy at auctions. The auction guarantees the car. People years ago were always nervous about auctions because that's where dealers took their junk. Not anymore. The auctions is an exchange. If a dealer, for example, is short on pickup trucks, he'll go to the auction, he'll sell some cars to be able to buy some pickup trucks, or vice versa. If he's got a lot of trucks that he took in trade, he'll sell those trucks at the auction and buy some cars. Well, that's where Frontier Motor shows up. In Orlando, for example, every single week on Tuesday, they sell between 4,500 and 6,000 cars just at that one auction alone. The Manheim auction chain is the largest chain of auction in the world, and they have over 100 auctions in the nation. And in Florida, I think there's 12 Manheim auctions in Florida. So what we do is we attend these auctions, and by the way, in the South alone, in Florida and Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi, we have the ability to shop between 20 and 25,000 cars every week. So that's where we get our cars. And the reason we like getting the newer cars at the auction, because the auction guarantees them. Even without running a Carfax report, which I already told you I run on every car, they guarantee that there's not going to be a salvage title, a flood problem, or a lemon law buyback, or an odometer problem. These are things that we worry about, just like you worry about when we buy the car. Well, I'm buying them from someone that they will tell us it's 100% disclosure. And they do run cars like that. I see there's one lane in Orlando that's dedicated to lemon law buybacks, and there's dealers standing in line for these cars, because they're buying them quite a bit cheaper than a non-lemon law car. And, of course, they take them back to the dealership and they disclose them. I don't buy those type of cars, but they are there. What I do is I look at cars that are rated a 4 to a 5. The auction, for some reason, doesn't rate them in real life, which is 0 to 10. That's how I always think of rating someone. They rate them from 0 to 5. If the vehicle is not a 4 or above, I don't even look at it. And generally, I'll only buy a car if it's a 4.5 to a 5, which is just about perfect. And these are cars like the Mitsubishi Outlander that we have in a lot. It's a 17 Outlander with 26 miles on it, folks. We're a used car dealer. Pete Moore is the new car dealership in town. And I always urge you, if you're going to buy a brand new car, always go to our local dealers. In this particular case, it happens to be Pete Moore. But wouldn't it be nice to know how much I could save you on this car with 28 miles on it? What about a 17 Highlander with 308 miles on it? Bob Tyler's our local dealer. So I urge you to go see Bob Tyler if you're going to buy a brand new one. But let's take a look at the one that I've got with 300 miles on, and let's see what the bottom line difference is. Forget about the asking price. I've had this happen already where a person will call in and say, well, how do you asking for this car? Well, it's $36,000. Well, I can buy a brand new one for $37,000. But let's look at the bottom line. Let's look at it after the discount, after, if there is any, and after your trade-in, and after all the fees and taxes. And that's how I urge you to always look at the car. Look at the bottom line. And the competition is going to dictate that. If it's a car that I can get like this Outlander, I bought, I think, 7 of these Outlanders and Mirages at a dealership not a dealership, but the auction in Orlando, and it's right from the manufacturer. I bought these right from Mitsubishi. Now, obviously, because I'm a non-franchise dealer, I have to sell these cars as used. And the warranty clock is ticking. If this car is a month old, instead of having a 36-month warranty, you'd have a 35-month warranty. The Highlander, if it's 3 months old, you lose 3 months of warranty, but you still have 33 months left. We've got a Dodge Challenger on the lot with 500 miles on, a Ford Escape with 800 miles on it, GMC Acadia Denali, which is the new body style fancy one. It's got 955 miles on it. We have a Toyota Avalon with 1,200 miles on it, a Honda Accord with 1,300 miles on it. We try to keep between 100 and 150 cars on the lot that are under factory warranty with less than 20,000 miles on them. Now, because we have so many cars that are like new, we also take a lot of older cars and trade. So don't think we don't have anything under $10,000. And we also always make sure that we let everybody out there know that if you've got a car and you're going to sell it, let's say you're going to put it on Craigslist, before you do that and have people come over to your house, why not run to Frontier Motors and let me give you a buy bid on it? You'll be pleasantly surprised that we're very, very fair with our buy bids, that we pay more than wholesale, but a little less than retail. Somewhere in the middle. The advantage is you don't have to do any work. You don't have to have advertising. You don't have to have people come over the house to make you stupid offers. You don't have to have people that want to take your car and maybe get it inspected so that you're going to be without that car for maybe half a day. You don't know if the person is actually even credit worthy, that he can even buy a car. And these are things that are really important. Not to mention that if this is wintertime, I mean, around here, it gets dark sometimes between 4 and 5 o'clock at night. You're going to have people come over to your house to look at a car at 6 o'clock after supper, after you're done working. I don't recommend it. That's where we come in. And if I can't give you enough when I write you a check to make you happy, let's try doing a consignment. I see so many cars that I've seen on Craigslist where they say, I bought a new car, I'm selling mine. Well, they obviously thought this was going to be an easy sell, because I see that happen all the time. I'll call the people up and I say, hey, how long have you had your car for sale? I've had it for sale for 3 months. How many calls have you gotten? I haven't gotten any. Because they find out that it's not that easy. And one reason is because a lot of people have a trade-in. Well, if you're selling a car yourself and you're a private individual, they know you're not going to take a trade-in. That's where we come in. We can sell that car for you on consignment. We can take a trade-in. We can help the people with financing. We can offer warranties. A lot of times what happens is that if you've got a particular car, let's say that you've got a Camaro and somebody comes in and he's looking at one of our Mustangs and then they see the Camaro, they might not even be thinking Camaro, but they see your car and they end up buying it because they're on our lot at Frontier Motor Shopping. And that's not unusual, because a lot of people, almost 70% of the people, buy something different than what they set out to buy. In other words, you got a preconceived notion that I want this and this and this. And we know this because we've been doing this for over 21 years at Frontier Motors, where we talk to a customer and he says, well, he's coming in, he's going to buy a minivan. Next thing you know, he bought a Suburban. Obviously, you want to know how much is the car. I don't want our lot to look like a used car lot. So you're not going to see balloons. You're not going to see these flying things that attract any attention. You're not going to drive by and see all the hoods open. You're not going to see neon stickers on our cars. You know, you're going to get a price list, and you're going to be able to look at the cars. We do have a window sticker on the car that tells you the mileage, because all of these cars these days have electronic speedometer. So one thing you don't know unless you look at the window sticker, our price list, because it tells you the miles also. So the miles are pasted right on the car. So you know the year of the car, and you know how many miles are on the car. You might not know the equipment, because you can't tell by looking at a car if it's got navigation, backup camera, blind spot, and all these things. But this price list will tell you that. And it'll also tell you what the retail price is and what our internet sale price is. It makes it so much easier for you. If there's any negotiating to be done, our salesman will come in if there's a car that you like, and they'll say, hey, I've got a customer looking at this Ford Escape. They want to know, is that price on the internet the best price? Sometimes we can do a little bit better, and sometimes we can't. But we pride ourselves on one thing, and that's giving you a total out-the-door figure. A sale price figure doesn't tell you nothing, because different dealers charge different fees. So if one dealer has $500 less on his sale price, but his fees are $600 more, he's not the better deal, is he? So ask that dealer to do what Frontier Motors does, and that gives you a total out-the-door price. It makes it so much easier that if, for example, you're looking at this 17 Escape that I have, and I tell you I can sell this car for $27,557 out the door. Now, that includes everything. That includes your tag transfer, or a new tag if you need to buy one. It includes the registration, includes the title, includes the dock fee, includes the tax on the dock fee. It includes your state tax and county tax and federal tax. So everything is on there. And then when you go to the Ford dealership, which happens to be World Ford up the road, and you ask them for their out-the-door price, just compare it. I always tell you, if I can't save you at least $2,000 or $3,000 on a car, I would buy the brand new one. On some cars, especially the high-end cars like a Mercedes or BMW, sometimes I can save you $10,000 to $15,000. The biggest example I used last month on the show was the Jaguar that we sold. It had 2,200 miles on it. We saved the customer that bought it $23,000 over the price of a new one. Folks, this car was 7 months old with 2,200 miles on it. That's almost $1,000 for 100 miles. That's crazy. And that's why I always say that I'm not telling you not to buy a new car, but before you do it, you stop in. We can tell you what to pay for the new car because we have the invoices. We can tell you what a pre-owned car, maybe a car that's 6 months old, would cost you. How much can we save you? And number three, we can tell you what you should be getting for your car. What if we like your car more than the other dealer? Let's say you're driving a F350 diesel, a 2015 with 20,000 miles on it, and you happen to drive over to Mobile and go to the Lexus dealership. How excited do you think that Lexus dealership is going to be about taking a 1-ton diesel in trade? I don't know anybody that goes to a Lexus lot looking for a 1-ton diesel. So what they do is they farm that vehicle out. They call a broker, and the broker always takes a little bit of the cut of the money. So if the vehicle is worth $40,000, they might get an appraisal of $38,000. Well, if you stop at Frontier Motors first and get that $40,000 appraisal, we'll put it in writing, we'll sign it, and we can either write you a check for it or you can trade it in at the dealer and we'll buy it right from the dealer. That way, if the dealer gives you a lower appraisal, maybe not because they're trying to rip you off, maybe it's just that that's all they were getting for the vehicle and they're not going to keep your vehicle. And you would think, and this happened at the Lexus too, I always pick on Lexus a lot because it's one of our best-selling vehicles on our lot, and there's not a local Lexus dealer, so they don't get mad at me. But I use Lexus a lot because I had it, this was last year, where we had a 2013 ES350. I appraised it, and they went to the Lexus dealership. They appraised it for $2,000 less than I appraised it. And the reason was not because they were trying to rip them off, but they had a whole bunch of them in stock. So they got a lower appraisal because the used car manager didn't want another one. So that's why we keep these dealers honest. We make sure that, especially if you're going to buy a car from someone else and not from Frontier Motors, we should be paying you less money for the car, but you're going to find, because we sell every make and model, that a lot of times we pay you more money. Frontier Motors, going on 21 years in business, 230 Bellevue Parkway. Most people have heard about us. I know there's a lot of transients in Pensacola, a lot of military that might have not heard about Frontier Motors. We're the easy dealership to buy a car from, and we're an easy dealership to shop from, where you're not going to get pressured or hassled into buying a car when you're not ready. So it makes it so much more fun for a customer to come in and just kick some tires and maybe meet one of our salespeople. So when you are ready, we'll say, hey, when you're ready, come on and see us. We'll give you a price in writing. You can check out our vehicles on the website, frontiermotorsinc.com. Just Google Frontier Motors. We're the largest there is. So you're going to see almost 350 cars in inventory, 31 detail photographs. They all have prices. Make sure you check us out on Facebook also. You can watch my mug here and watch the half-hour show. Just Google Frontier Motors on either Facebook or on, what's the other one? YouTube. That's it. Yeah, don't forget YouTube. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead.